Ghirardelli, The Sweet Engine. Written by Gold Saddle Tank and narrated by Christopher Burtwhistle. We're nearly finished, my friend, Victor said cheerfully to Duck, shunting some trucks of spare parts into a siding as he watched the workmen make final repairs with a critical, observant eye. I'm glad, Duck answered, feeling chipper for the first time since Oliver helped him into the steamworks. I do appreciate you helping me, but beg pardon for saying so. I feel stifled in here, the pannier tank engine answered politely. I understand, the Hispanic engine replied sympathetically. But I heard the Fat Controller has a very interesting job for you to carry out before you return to your branch line, he said mysteriously. Something to, shall we say, warm up your wheels, ha ha ha. Duck felt stiff, but he was glad his valves were working beautifully again, and he was impressed at the work and care the workmen had put in to ensure he was ready for work again. He politely thanked the workmen, and Victor and Kevin too, of course, for all their hard work. Suddenly curious about his interesting job, he was about to carefully press Victor for more details when he heard a voice call out. Ah, Duck, there you are. The Fat Controller was making his way across the steamworks, along with Duck's crew, who were more than a little pleased to see how their engine was. Hello there, Duck, how are you feeling? Duck's driver, Ernest Jones, asked warmly. I feel grand, Mr. Jones, Duck replied happily as his fireman, Stephen Pine, lit his fire and he began to simmer and sizzle happily. Glad to finally be back in steam once again. Good to hear, lad, the driver exclaimed, patting his engine's buffer affectionately. We missed you too. I missed you both too, replied Duck truthfully, glancing over to the hoist. Duck carefully lowered his voice to utter, Spencer's been doing me in. The Fat Controller coughed politely, to which Duck remembered he was being assigned a job. My apologies, sir. How can I assist? I appreciate your zest for work, Duck, the Fat Controller replied before continuing. I have a job for you. It's quite simple, but it will need to be a quick one. And I imagine you'll need fresh air and a run after your time in here. This proposition made the Great Western tank engine snap to attention. What engine wouldn't, sir? Asked Duck surreptitiously, glancing at the little Cuban engine to make sure he hadn't unintentionally offended him in any way. Fortunately, though, he hadn't. The Fat Controller just nodded wisely before continuing. I need you to travel to Mr. Jolly's chocolate factory in Kildane and perform our usual deliveries. Beg pardon, sir, but I thought Charlie or Rosie handled those usually, quizzed Duck. Ah, Charlie's got boiler sludge, Duck winced. And Rosie was sent to the China clay pits to help Bill and Ben with their work. Duck wondered which one he should feel more sympathy for. Very well, sir. Where do I deliver to? He asked. Random Docks, Knapford Station and Crovan's Gate, the Fat Controller answered. The now gauge engines will be delivering chocolate to Lakeside on the Sculloway Railway, and Knapford Station will be stocking up their shops. Duck swore he saw the controller's eyes sparkle dreamily at the thought of chocolate. Are you alright, sir? Duck asked with no response. It wasn't until Kevin accidentally dropped a pallet of square parts and called out, Sorry, boss, that the Fat Controller regained his senses, blinking in confusion at what just happened. Well, I'll be on my way, sir, Duck said brightly, hoping to spare the controller some embarrassment over what just happened. Right you are, Duck, the Fat Controller answered sheepishly, rubbing the back of his neck with his hand, still thinking about chocolate. Once Duck was ready to go, he set off to collect a brake van, but he didn't have to wait long as he saw his best friend, Oliver the Great Western Engine, bringing Toad, the Great Western brake van, back from a run to Brandon. Hello, Oliver. Hello, Toad, he called out, puffing over to his friends as they stopped at a red signal. Oh, hi, Duck. Oliver exclaimed in surprise and delight. "It's great to see you out at the steamworks again. I've not seen you since I brought you there for your repairs." "How are you feeling, Mr. Duck?" Toad asked politely. "Much better than I was before, that's for certain." Duck grinned. "How have you two been?" "We're well," replied Oliver politely. "So have Donald and Douglas, but we've missed having you on the branch all the same. Are you heading back there now?" Not yet, Oliver. Sir Topham Hatt asked me to go to Kildane," Duck replied. "Oh, is that for the chocolate deliveries?" Oliver asked curiously. "Yep," replied Duck, and then he had a sudden thought. "Oliver, are you finished with Toad?" "Yes, I'm due to pull a passenger train once I return to the branch line," sighed Oliver. "I only got asked to take this delivery as the Fat Controller was stuck for a spare engine. Why'd you ask?" "Well, in that case, Toad, would you mind doing a run with me? I've got to deliver chocolate from Kildane to Brendan, Roberts Gate and Knapford Station." "I'd be honoured to be of service, Mr. Duck, sir," Toad answered happily. He was excited to get out for another run as opposed to going back to his shed, especially if Dulcie and Isabel were going to be out with Oliver. Oliver chuckled. "Well, alrighty, lucky you, Toad, getting a second run as well as me," he said cheerfully. So Oliver was uncoupled from Toad and shunted into a siding, where Duck was coupled up to him. "Enjoy your trip, Toad. I'll see you guys later. I've got to get my coaches ready," Oliver told them. "Goodbye, Mr. Oliver," Toad called out. "I'll see you back at the branch line." "Bye, Oliver. I'll see you and the Scottish twins later, okay?" Duck whistled, and with that, he and Toad set off for their job to collect the chocolate. Soon Duck was racing along the main line. His wheels had loosened up beautifully, and he almost felt like he was flying. The cool, fresh air rushed round his funnel, brushed his cheek, whistled past his smoke box, and he relished in the feeling of being out again after being cooped up in the steamworks for a day or so. "I feel great," he called to his crew, who agreed with him. They missed their runs with Duck, and they now enjoyed being back in his cab hurling along the tracks. "We're making great progress," Ernest called to Stephen as they passed through Wellsworth Station, where Duck whistled a greeting to Boko and Edward, who were nearby, and they responded with their own greetings. "Hi," agreed Stephen. "We should slow down a little. We haven't gone much further until we reach Kildane." Duck could see that for himself. He tooted a hello as he passed Emily on Gordon's Hill, who returned the courtesy in kind. "After all," Duck said with a meaningful tone, "there are two ways of doing things, the Great Western Way or the wrong way, and the Great Western Way is usually the best." Toad finished with a smile as they reached the top of the steep hill. The four laughed. Duck's way was still going strong. Soon they reached the chocolate factory, but there were no chocolate trucks there. "That's strange," said Duck in surprise, looking round the factory. "There are no trucks here for us. Surely we were expected, Toad." "I agree, Mr. Duck," Toad agreed. "Where are they?" he wondered, and then some food trucks appeared beside them as if by magic. They were loaded and ready to go. I wonder if Oompa Loompas heard us," Ernest joked, the story of Charlie and the chocolate factory coming to mind. Much to the surprise of the cavalcade, a small, shunted diesel emerged. His livery was purple with silver lining, which blazed brilliantly in the sunshine. He wore a shy smile accompanied by freckles adorning his face, and a daub of chocolate just right on his nose. He had two nameplates on his side. One read, Ghirardelli, and the number 2 underneath. "Hi there, I'm Gigganelli," the diesel said, trying to smile confidently at these strangers. He shrunk back, wishing he could disappear into thin air. "Hello there, Gigganelli. I'm Duck, and that's my friend Toad," Duck replied calmly and politely regarding the newcomer. "Begging your pardon, Gigganelli, but do you work here?" the green engine inquired, good-naturedly. He hadn't seen this little engine before and he was very intrigued. Well, why, yes I do, the little diesel said with a smile, suddenly meek and polite. My job is shunting trucks of the chocolate for the engines to take to the docks or to other places around the island, he explained. I work with my older sister Verona and a good friend Leonidas the crane, who loads up the trucks, which I shunt for the engines, he explained. Oh, Duck and Toad said in chorus, curious about the strange, shy but friendly little engine. While the shunter got Duck's train ready, the two friends listened intently to Ghirardelli's explanation. Leonidas was named after a Belgian chocolate company, and I was named after an American chocolate company founded by an Italian man. His name was Domenico Gigganelli. What about your sister, Verona? She's named after a French company of the same name, Gigganelli answered quietly. The stories of these companies, along with others, inspired Mr. Jolly to succeed. He named all three of us after some of the finest chocolate companies in the world. That's very inspiring, Duck said. He hadn't really heard of these companies, but he managed a supportive smile nonetheless. Do you know an engine named Percy by any chance? Gigganelli asked curiously, as something occurred to him. Leonidas and I owe our jobs here to him crashing through the original factory years ago, he explained shyly, flushing a bright scarlet as he spoke. Duck remembered that incident all too well. He had found it amusing to see his friend draped in gooey milk chocolate, but he'd managed to not laugh about it in Percy's presence. Yes, in fact I was the one who helped him after the crash, he replied. He remembered his driver talking about the aftermath of the crash, which had made the headlines. The factory used the insurance from Percy's accident to relocate and rebuild, with some expansion to what had already been previous. In addition, the crash apparently had inspired a popular line of chocolate engines, which had been sold and had a variety of fillings. They were very popular and business had boomed. Duck presumed that between the success and insurance claims, these two engines and the crane had been purchased and were given a home and plentiful work. So Percy's a friend of yours? Gigganelli asked in surprise, interrupting Duck's thought. Yes, he is, Mr. Gigganelli, Toad responded enthusiastically. There's no need for Mr. Toad. I'm not important, the little diesel replied shyly, averting his gaze in embarrassment at being given such a sign of importance. I'm afraid Toad refers to everyone with a title. He believes in referring to everyone in a well-meaning fashion, Duck explained. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, Gigganelli stuttered in horror, terrified at the implications of his rudeness towards the visitors to the factory. He always felt awkward talking to engines he had never met before, and he feared saying anything that could potentially be interpreted as rude. It's quite all right, Mr. Gigganelli. You weren't rude, Toad answered kindly. It's just a habit I've had since my days on the Great Western Railway, and I'm sorry if it caused you offence. Oh, no offence taken, Toad. I just thought that I wasn't as important enough to be referred to as a mister, the silver and purple diesel explained bashfully. I didn't realise you were just using it to refer to others as such. He cringed, wishing the tracks would open up beneath him and swallow him whole. He scuttled off to shunt Duck's trucks. Duck felt sorry for the little engine. It was clear he wasn't used to talking to anyone. Well, other than Mr. Jolly, his sister, and the mysterious Leonidas. He felt the trucks being coupled up to him and watched as Gigganelli scuttled off out of the way. But before Duck could say anything, he heard the impatient whistle blow. Sorry, Gigganelli, we'd better be off. I've deliveries to make, he said apologetically. Okay, stammered Gigganelli, before huffing and taking a deep breath. It was nice to meet you, Duck, and you, Toad, he added, looking a bit more at ease. I enjoyed your visit, but please come back. "It was a pleasure to meet you too, Mr. Gigganelli," Toad answered respectfully, making the little Diesel smile. "Yes, it was a great pleasure talking to you," answered Duck. "And I'll maybe ask Percy to swing round here as well sometime," he added with a wink. "Goodbye, Gigganelli." "Yes, goodbye, Mr. Gigganelli, sir," Toad called out as Duck whistled goodbye to the new friend before setting off for its deliveries with Toad. Goodbye, called the new friend, honking his horn in farewell, as his two new friends left the factory. I hope I see you again soon." He smiled as they left. That was nice.